If you've seen my previous video of explaining, how much I've made throughout my engineering career, you saw that I constantly and consistently increase my income every year. In this video, I'm going to break down how exactly you can do that. And I just want to give a disclaimer, you're not going to, just go from making such and such to such and such. But I promise you, all these tips I'm giving you will get you closer to making more money, get you closer to getting a pay raise, in the future, if you apply, some of these things. So boom, let's get into it. So the first tip I would definitely recommend to anyone is to be open to opportunity. Be open to any opportunity. Don't just be a loyalist to your job. Don't just say, this is what I do and this is the only thing I'm going to do. No, expand your horizons, because the more you do that, the more possibilities in your career. So one thing I'd highly recommend is I recommend you go on LinkedIn, whether you have a LinkedIn or don't. If you don't, I recommend you create one, but I recommend you go on LinkedIn and make yourself open for opportunities, because what that'll do is then recruiters will reach out to you and say, hey, there's an opportunity. We're getting paid to find someone like you to come work for this company. So you'll have recruiters reach out to you because they get paid to find people like you. Making yourself open to opportunities on LinkedIn will help these people find you. And I highly recommend this tip, mainly because when I made a huge jump in salary in my career, it was due to me being recruited off of LinkedIn to go work a different job. And it's the best decision I could have ever made in my professional career. Also, just don't be closed off to unique jobs, whether that's like you're an engineer or something and the task is something engineering adjacent. Don't close yourself off, because for me, I am a structural engineering major, but I currently get paid more as a naval architect, and I'm happy I didn't close myself off to that opportunity to get paid as such. So a second tip you can do is definitely leverage your value. In many roles, I won't say every role, but there are a lot of roles out there that is something unique to you that makes you, unexpendable, makes you very valuable to the company. And you have to leverage that value with your company and to other companies to make sure that you're getting the full value. So say, for example, you're a mechanic and you're only one certified to do a certain level of work on a car. I recommend you use that as leverage to get an increase in salary from your job, because if you're the only one there that can do that, if you leave, that work goes out the door with you. So I recommend that you leverage that. And this helped me, for example, as I was a naval architect in my company, and they had went through a series of a lot of naval architects coming, staying for a year, then leaving. So what they did there is they created a higher paid position for me to move into to kind of entice me not to leave. And that was me leveraging my value to be able to make that happen. So number 3 is something that's more simple to do. Not as more you-based, but more as like the opportunity-based. So I recommend you find a job that increases your salary annually by the cost of living. And that will be just a simple way that every single year, your job is going to say, hey, we're going to give you this much more this year. Hey, we're going to give you this much more this year, based off whatever they deem is a cost of living bump to you. And that's a quick way to know, hey, I'm not going to fall behind on the curve of, groceries cost $100 and it used to cost $80. But if you have a cost of living raise factored into your salary, you won't, fall behind the curve of the expenses in your life. So these next 3 are not more actions to take, but it's more of things to expect or ways to move in your current job to be able to put yourself in position to get a higher salary. And number 4 is something I'll dub to not flex your muscles, but just do the reps. I see a lot of people in my job and people in my role that love to praise themselves or complain about how much work they do. But I think it's important, you know, from the sense of getting better opportunities and putting yourself in a position to get a increase in salary. It's not just to highlight your work, but it's more so to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. If you're a person that constantly shows up or constantly makes yourself available, then you'll be the first person that people think about when an opportunity presents itself, because they know, hey, this person has always shown up for me, or they've always been there when I need them to be there. So they deserve to be rewarded appropriately. So number 5, I would say, don't embrace workplace culture, embrace opportunity. In my workplace, I see people often, you know, get nag, or people get complacent, or people, you know, follow a certain guideline and they fit in with the crowd. If all the crowd is giving 50% effort, they're going to give 50. But one thing I've seen that has worked for me is just not being like them, because that helps you stand out more. Embrace opportunities. And one example of that is, hey, it's a unique task that no one in your job is responsible for doing. So that came up for me as an opportunity to move up and an opportunity to put myself out there, is when there were business trips to go on. I didn't have a true reason not to go out there, so I did. And that turned around to people say, hey, this guy is the leader at this job. Then I turned around that when I went out there and I completed my task just as if I was completing it, you know, here, my current job, they looked at me like, wow, this guy is willing to go and do things we really need him for. And that put me first in line for many opportunities right there. So number 6, I will say, simply find the important. Find the essential thing within your job. So like the example earlier, whether that's being a certified person to do a certain task, or being the only 5 people in a company of 10,000 people who do a specific thing, you have to figure out what you do that's important and make sure it's highlighted. So even before I got an opportunity to be a naval architect, I was a structural engineer at a shipyard. And one thing that highlighted me as important and bumped me up to be able to get the opportunity as a naval architect, oddly enough, they saw that I was a certified railroad inspector. And they looked at that as, hey, if this guy is able to be important enough to do this task and to be certified to do this task, then I want someone like that to lead this role. So I had that importance, and people were able to notice it in me, and that opened me up for so many more opportunities. So last but not least, I think it's very important that we all know the ceiling in the building. And what do I mean by that? You, as a person who works within a company, knows the workplace culture. You know the ongoings and how they do business. So if a company only promotes people whenever they get the 6-year seniority to the next level, then if you're at that company 2 years in and you're like, I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting promoted, or I'm making all these changes, I'm not getting promoted, you have to know that you're at your ceiling. This company will not let you progress until, you know, you hit their marks. So you have to look elsewhere, look through other avenues, look to other places to be able to have that, you know, opportunity present itself. Don't expect it within the current building you're in, because you're at a ceiling. So yeah, that's what I have. These are things that were guaranteed worked, and they mattered a lot to me progressing in my career. But I will say, these things only increase your odds. These things do not guarantee that you're going to get promoted. These things don't guarantee that you're going to get more money, but they put you in a better position to be able to do it. So I hope this works for some of you all, and I'll see you next time.